7,
8,
9,
10.
Yes.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way Curls. My name is
Hi.
Shanti, and
My name is Antoinette.
we're very happy to have you all listen. So if you're a new listener, welcome to the best time you never knew you needed. All right now, come on. I painted my walls. I finally committed to it. Not that one. That's still fucked up.
I'm about to say, girl, if you're on Patreon.
That one? Somebody was like, Shanti, when you but also people have been DMing me and asking me about it, and I did it. It was very therapeutic.
You didn't even send it to me.
Buying paint is expensive.
Oh yeah.
The fuck?
The brushes.
Benjamin Moore?
Yeah.
The nerve of them. But
Send me the pictures of it.
I will. I bought a whole gallon, and I went to work last night. I did a poor job in some areas. I need to go over it.
Yikes.
But for the most part, I did good, and it was a zone that I was in. I had my music playing. I made myself a little gin and tonic.
Oh.
And I did it. And me and Jolie are happy with the results. It's also helped me I have to keep getting rid of things. I have too many books. I have too many books that I never read. I have so many books that I need to get rid of. I'm feeling inspired to color code my books. I need to get some more storage because I have too many things everywhere. I don't know where to put them. And I need to get more picture frames. So these are my goals. Makes me feel good. I have one plant that's very obnoxious and I don't know what to do with her. And did we talk about that on the podcast? So just having a plant that you don't really fuck with on the low. I walk into that room, I'll be like, girl, you are doing too much.
I know
and she ain't
which
do
plant
nothing.
you talk about.
She
Stop
ain't
it.
do
Is
nothing.
that the plant
but
that was
exist.
gifted to you that was very nice?
I told my dad I like plants. He was like, say less. I'm going to buy you a dinosaur fern. It's about 2.5 feet wide. She belongs on a porch. Not in my little apartment. I don't have a big apartment.
It's so big.
It's so big. And she's drawing. Like, she's like, her energy is like Tasmanian devils. Like, like that's the energy that I get for her. And I'm like, oh God, get out of my house. And she ain't do nothing, and I feel bad about it. Like I'm talking shit about a plant right now. She just in there wanting to get some water, probably dehydrated. But that's what's going on, and I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna paint my room eventually. And then Antoinette invited me on a road trip, and I never knew that was what I needed. I'm so excited for this possibility, and you know, the reason that you're going, I don't know if you want to share it, but whether or not it manifests or not, we should still go.
It's manifesting.
We're going to Toronto, y'all.
No, we're going to Mississauga. Said that wrong.
Doesn't sound as sexy. I'm reconsidering. I'm not going.
It's 45 minutes from there, but we'll stay in Toronto. We'll go to Toronto.
Yeah. I hear the people are fine in Toronto.
Girl, you about to find your man. Oh my God. We on a prowl. Let's go. Manifest them. What you want? Say it now. Boom. 6'3". Boom. What else?
Oh. Kind. Funny.
Skateboard. Come on, manifest it.
I don't want a skateboarder.
All right. What you want? What you want, that girl?
I want him to be like, what you need. That's what I want. I want a what you need type nigga. A little bit. This is not what this conversation was going to turn into. My heart's beating. I need therapy first before I... My heart's beating. What kind of man? I don't know. I'm not going to Toronto for the niggas. All the people are pretty there, apparently. I hear it's just a beautiful, diverse city.
Caribbean baddies.
And the food's bussin'.
Mm-hmm.
And
how long we staying? We're gonna drive. It's an 8-hour drive, y'all. We driving up. I'm sure Shanti will get on live. You never need to get on live again after last weekend.
The people
I was
enjoyed
like, can
it.
we please get on FaceTime?
Isn't that bossy self? Me and Amanda were like, wait a minute, why is she telling us?
You asked me.
I'm done. FaceTime me
saved the
now.
night.
We're done.
No, because y'all started talking about stuff that you shouldn't talk about in the house, in the person's house you were at, and I was like, "This is over. Live is done. You're both done."
The
Sorry.
way we're censored, the way this system got us by our balls.
Listen. Yep.
Hate it
And
here.
does. Oh, I sound like Mandy. And does. Were those your updates, Queen?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you took one of my updates. We're going on a road trip. I can't wait. I'm finna get my hair cut, and I ain't telling y'all who's cutting it until
Uh-oh,
I get it cut.
gatekeeping.
I'm a gatekeep on this one for a little bit, because I
People don't
can't.
like that.
I'm sorry.
But
I'll
it
tell
doesn't
y'all
matter.
when I get it done. Damn.
Oh, that's right.
I make sure my experience was good before I'm shouting them out.
Word.
I still haven't found a therapist, and I need one.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
There's no update there. I just know that I need one because I'm
Still?
nuts.
Chronically unwell.
Listen, period came. Well, it's not here yet. It's about to come, and my blood is about upon me, and I'm losing it. I'm losing it every day, little by little by little. So I don't know if a therapist can help me out with that. But I hope said therapist will. But I'm gonna start looking again. Anywho, voicemails. We got voicemails, y'all, and we're gonna get into them because I can't remember them all the way, but I think some of them were very good. Let's go.
Hey, it's Justin calling from Atlanta. Just want to call for age of my boo Shanti. And I'm calling for episode 326. First of all, I love the way Antoinette capes for like the people she really cares about, really loves, like Beyonce, Joseph Robinette. Love the way Shanti capes for Wendy Williams. I can't think of anybody else she capes for like that, but Wendy Williams, I know she capes for her hard.
Wendy.
But I just want to call, say, hey to my boo. And also, I have a question for you guys. Since I think Shanti gave up on Walking Dead, and our internet finished it. I would love to know, who are you in The Walking Dead? What character best represents you?
I don't remember.
Oh,
remember.
what character represents you in The Walking Dead? I think we should answer for each other.
Baby girl, I don't remember, dog.
How you don't remember? God damn it.
God damn it. Got one goddamn job.
How we got a podcast is supposed to be a little bit about pop culture, and neither one of us know shit about pop culture.
You remember? Who would you say? This all
For
on
me?
you. Yeah.
I think I'm annoying. I think I'm Rick. I think I'm Rick.
You think you're
I
Rick?
think I'm annoying and take it over. First of all, did you realize how Rick would go into different people's communities and just take it over like it was his and be telling everybody what to do? And then thought that he was right all the damn time and was also doing weird shit like, no, we can't kill him. We've got to yada, yada, yada. And then would learn that he need to kill him and end up killing him. Rick was annoying. But Rick was also strong and he held folks together.
Yeah, Rick was that nigga.
I'm definitely Rick now.
I don't remember. I apologize. I gotta have a little refresh.
Who are you? You are, I think you're Maggie. Do you remember Maggie?
Yeah, Glenn's boo.
Yeah, I think you don't know what happened with Maggie. Cause you ain't finished. Y'all, I'd like to know who y'all think Shanti is and who I am on The Walking Dead if you've watched The Walking Dead. I feel you are Maggie. Or
Why?
one of the Walking Dead.
Why? Why Maggie? What'd she do?
I'm not telling you because you ain't watching.
You have to give some insight, Antoinette. You can't just
Please
say
don't
that.
talk to me like that.
I'm just saying.
Maggie was. Remember how she got with Glenn? How she was kind of like, I like you, but I don't like you. I'm not really claiming you, but I'm claiming you. But you better treat me right. But also, I ain't really fucking with you. If you want to have sex in the barn, we could do that. She was a little bit secretive in the beginning, and then she opened up and she was all for the love. She had the baby, Herschel. She was very protective of said baby. She ended up being a bomb-ass, badass bitch that was holding down her own village of people.
Okay, Maggie.
Yeah, Maggie was
They
the
had
bomb.
a biracial baby. They had a little Asian baby.
Herschel.
Herschel. Why they name that? Oh, the father. I was about to say, why would they name that baby that?
I think you could be Maggie.
All right, I'm Maggie. Where I can't.
I really want to be Carol, but I'm not.
No.
I want to be Carol. You could also maybe be Daryl, but you're not good in the outdoors like that. But you could go solo the way he did. See, you didn't see. You didn't
Daryl. Daryl was a redneck to the core.
He was. He wasn't.
Because I would love Daryl. I'd be like, Daryl, you and me, I'm sticking beside you. You gonna hold me down.
Heard you, Queen. I'm not mad at the choice of Daryl. If I had a choice of somebody to get with,
I mean, Rick, of course.
Rick is annoying, and I don't think Rick. Would Rick have
You
been
think
a
Rick
good
putting it
lover?
down? Yeah, you think
Let's
Rick
see.
putting it down? You know who would have been a good lover? His
Who?
best friend.
Shane. Oh, Shane was fucking.
Shane was that nigga on the low though. I would kind of want somebody protective and crazy over me like Shane. I'd be like, yes, Alpha. You gotta fight to the death for me. And you know Shane was putting it down.
Shane was definitely
Could you
putting it down
imagine
better
having
than
the
Rick.
best sex with Shane and then Rick come back and you like, oh shit. God damn. It's fucking
And
with
that was
zombies.
definitely Shane's baby. That was not Rick's baby.
You just gonna let somebody bust in you while there's an apocalypse, dog?
Yeah, she like fucking.
I would not. I'd be like, we could not bring a child into this world. Like, please pull out. You just gonna let somebody come in you?
Please pull out.
During
But we'd be
apocalypse?
stupid though to think that the only way people get pregnant is if people come inside them. Pre-cum is the thing, everybody. Safe sex. Yay. You know who else though? You said it before and I feel like I kind of chewed you out for it, but you were right. Negan. Yeah.
Negan would
Not as much as
become a
Shane,
good
though.
lover.
Yeah.
He would become a good lover, like a soulful
learn.
lover. Yeah. I feel like Shane would just be a good lover off technique
Ravenous.
and sight. And he probably got a nice size joint. Whereas Negan, y'all doing love, y'all astroplaning once y'all lock in.
Yeah, once you lock in, you good. Negan
Ooh.
choking you a little bit, looking at you, and missionary.
You're looking at you like, you're my bitch. Like, I love you. Wow.
Ooh,
Not me.
getting some insight into Shanti. I just heard it. It was like, oh, okay. Moving right
Negan.
along. Ready? Oh no, here I go. Well, this kind of ruins it. I remember this.
I had to clear my throat. Hello. Not gonna say my name. So I listened to the podcast today, and y'all was talking about Philly, about how Philly has the biggest outbreak of syphilis or whatever. I just want to say, I'm from Baltimore, and I met somebody who used to live in Philly, or he be going back and forth between the two. Like, he lives in Baltimore, but he got family in Philly, and he go out there all the time or whatever. That man gave me syphilis as well. And I just found out, like, well, I found out a little while ago. I didn't tell him because I feel like,
No. Monty, take that out. We gotta start over.
Why are you playing this, dog?
Because she has a really good message at the end. Why
That's
would you
crazy.
do that?
This is real. It's an epidemic, and this syphilis strain is hard to cure. All right,
All
start
right,
over.
so we gotta take it seriously
All right.
because she was very brave for even calling. That's why she
All right.
said, "I'm not saying my name."
I'm not
You
saying that
laugh-
to disparage her. but
No,
just
I
the-
know.
It's
You're-
the fact that it's a Philly nigga
That's
that are
why.
super spreaders of this shit. Is just
That is the exact thing. It's so fucking Philly. It's not even funny. Are you ready? All right, new time. Put the new time in. Oh god.
we need to edit this part out, so he needs to know that.
My T, we can't have the laughter. We gotta take this seriously now.
Go ahead.
And go.
I had to clear my throat. But hello. Not gonna say my name. So I listened to the podcast today, and y'all was talking about Philly, about how Philly has the biggest outbreak of syphilis or whatever. I just want to say, I'm from Baltimore, and I met somebody who used to live in Philly, or he be going back and forth between the two. Like, he lives in Baltimore, but he got family in Philly, and he go out there all the time or whatever. That man gave me syphilis as well, and I just found out, I found out a little while ago. I didn't tell him because I feel like I shouldn't have to. Like, I know where I got it from, and if you sitting here burning, and okay, that's your business, not mine. And honestly, I'm ratchet. I never get notifications because you burnt me, bitch. I just said a B word, but you burnt me, you feel me? So, yeah, I just want to say it is very much so real. Them silly dudes is burning like a mofo. And before, I had a scare, and I told him we should go get checked. He was talking about doing it online and doing all these extra things. And, you know, this is Baltimore. You can easily go get checked at like 3 or 4 locations for free. So I never understood what the problem was. That was like a red flag. So I got that test, and after I got done with that test, you know, I kind of just didn't trust it. So I went to my actual doctor, and by the time I went to my actual doctor, the health department called me the day I went to the actual doctor and told me that I had syphilis. So when I went to my real doctor, I told them that the health department told me blase, got tested again. Of course, I still had it, even though, like, I had went and got the medicine, but I hadn't taken it because, you know, it literally that same day. So I got the medicine, went to my doctor's appointment, didn't take the medicine, but started the medicine after my doctor's appointment. And,
What?
it's a mess, which honestly, nope, I'm lying. It wasn't even medicine. It was 2 shots. They hurt, which, you know, I got it. I'm kind of skinny, so they told me that if you weigh under a certain amount and you don't got a lot of fat on you, it hurts. That shit hurt so bad. So, yeah, I'm just telling you, yeah, y'all was for real. Don't touch nothing in Philly. It's not worth it. And, yeah, get up out of Philly, Santi, because it ain't nothing there but burning men. All right. Thank you. Love y'all. Play my message, please. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. Okay, bye.
I'm so sorry.
That's horrible.
That's terrible. The betrayal, the vulnerability to just open your legs to somebody, the nut shit, the lack of accountability or courage. Girl, you better tell him. You better text him and be like,
That's what I was thinking.
You better tell him.
Because the thing is, I know that, like, we assume people like, oh, you knew you had this, but so many people don't have symptoms from this stuff. So not everybody does, especially, I'm not caping at all because he might have known, but especially men, like, oftentimes they do not have symptoms, which is so annoying because they're
Or they're just
fucking
so
super
out of touch
spreaders.
with their bodies.
That
You know,
too.
they all sick and fucked up, but they just ignore it. I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm glad that you're clean. I'm taking heed. God damn.
Yeah, that makes me
Scary.
sad. I'm glad that you're okay, and thank you for the courage to even call and leave that message, because I think, listen, we hear the statistics and we don't think it applies to us until it does. So this is a reminder of everyone to go and get your STD screenings and your annual gynecological exams. And men, go get your STD screenings. Go get your, I don't know what men get. Do men get their
Penis
checked?
exams.
Did you just make that up? That's the way you said it. Was it
Penile
real?
examinations.
Okay.
Your reproductive tests.
Okay. I can't tell if you're looking at me or looking like into the ether. Are you asleep? Like, you're not looking at me, right? What were you just looking at?
I'm looking at the outline.
Oh.
I'm also cockeyed a little bit. Don't bring it up.
You were like this. Isn't it weird to record and not look at me? Like, not look at the person that you're talking to?
I'm looking at you right now. Does it look like I'm looking at you?
Now it does, because I see the the anger behind your eyes. I see the frustration and annoyance so clearly. Before it was just this kind of evergreen gaze.
I was tapped out. I was at my high disassociative. It was almost pleasurable how disassociated I was.
I could tell. I was like, she's gone. Are you here?
Oh, so good.
All right. Last voicemail, kids.
Hey, ladies. I have a quick Philly-related question. I don't want to leave my name just in case. So I am from Philly, but I'm living in LA, and I met a guy who's from Philly. And we're not dating anymore. It was a really bad situationship, but a lot of times when I did something he didn't like, I noticed that he would say, like, see, that's that Philly girl shit. Like, that's that Philly girl stuff that I be talking about. And in hindsight, yes, it was probably used to, like, manipulate me or probably just irritate me. But I want to know from your point of view, do you think we as women from Philly have certain isms? Has a guy ever told you that before? And also the petty in me wants to know, what are some isms that guys from Philly have that you may have noticed dating anybody from anywhere else? So, yes, let me know. Love the pod, and I hope you guys answer my questions.
You want me to go?
They got syphilis, girl.
Philly men are highly defensive, highly insecure, and because of the ways in which they think the world is against them, but they're also like underachieving in a lot of ways, and then are insecure and then become defensive. And so there's this loop of like, which incites gaslighting, which incites them, they're just so defensive that it's almost impossible to get through or to resolve, because it's never like a complete accountability. It's never like really seeing themselves. And Philly girls are aggressive, direct to the point. Not aggressive, but there is a directness and a protectiveness that we have that, I don't know, calls it out or like aggravates them somehow. Like, we're in this dysfunctional relationship some way that like we also know that we may be dealing with something that we shouldn't be, but like we also want to see this potential in this person. I don't know, child. Don't give me the psychology of Philly relationships, because it could be an episode now that I'm actually thinking about it. But that's my take.
Philly, I think
Internet hasn't dealt with Philly.
Internet hasn't what?
When was the last time you dealt with a Philly nigga?
About the last person I was in a relationship with, which was 8 years ago. Oh no, I dated somebody else from Philly after that. Then you hooked me up with.
Which who
highly
fits
defensive.
That? Fits that.
Highly defensive. Philly men don't do what they say they gonna do. And that triggers the hell out of Philly women, who are then like, I got it. I don't need you. You are not needed. You are disposable. Fuck it. I'm a savage. And then Philly men are like, oh, all right, I'm disposable, so I'll be that. Because you don't show up at all. And then the Philly girl is like, well, neither do you.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
no
they just
softness
continue.
Yeah.
Right. There's no softness, and there's no like humanity.
And women can't. I can't trust you to be soft. Like, why am I gonna put like, you're not gonna catch me? You don't got my back.
Both sides though, men are like, I can't trust you.
Yeah.
For me to be soft.
Yeah.
And you can't trust me to show up for you to be soft.
Is that a Philly thing or just like a general?
Maybe, but it's so prevalent. I think it's so prevalent in Philly. Again, we talked about Philly before, how It's this underdog, we all we got. But that underachiever
Underachieving.
thing is
Yeah.
very prevalent there. And there's almost a pride to, not a pride to it. It's like I'm out the mud. I'm climbing, we out the
It's
mud.
me against the
You know,
world. Like
me
I'm
against
yeah.
the world. I'm still that what he say? What Meek say? I'm still that nappy headed whatever he said. With the nappy braids that lock. Like he's still the dude on,
Yeah.
Burke Street.
Yeah.
But you're not, Meek.
And you don't need to be.
And you don't need to be. What if you weren't anymore?
Yeah, could you stop, please?
Yeah, so it's interesting. But
That's
the
a Philly
Philly
shit.
men,
That's such a Philly nigga thing to say
that's
to.
Philly shit. Absolutely. So
That's
dismissive.
amazing.
Because it don't mean nothing either. It's like, well, what does that mean? And it just, you on that Philly shit. And it's like, can you define what that Philly shit is so we can move past it? And they're like, nah.
I would
Figure it
love
out.
for a man that's not from Philly, who has dated a Philly girl, to describe
Yeah.
what a Philly girlism is, and vice versa. Because I think I may be too close and entangled with Philly niggas to be like, rejected. But that's curious. That's curious.
So-
Great question. I love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you too have a question or an answer or a comment, please give us a call at 215-948-2780. That's 215-948-2780. Okay.
All right, we're going to take a break and we have a really wonderful discussion ahead of us. So, after these messages, we'll be right back.
Joe is crazy. I like how you ain't say shit bad about the Philly girls. That's some Philly shit you did. Yeah.
Why you ain't say nothing?
I
said
did.
we're
I said they
aggressive.
can't soften.
Yeah, we're super aggressive.
I just realized that I have 2 computer mice. Whose mouse did I steal?
Wow. Your friends?
No. My friend has how you say it? Ergonomic. He was like, that's not actually good for your hand. Shut up. Shut up. You ready to do the other episode?
Yeah, sure.
Let me see this shirt. Girl, you think I can see that? Get up.
Big breasts, girl.
She's so pretty. Where you get that shirt?
Sable.
It's out now.
No, not yet. But I got that collage shirt for you, though, Queen.
It's interesting to Sable doing collage shirts when we got a whole Pinterest board of collage shirts that we supposed to do. Tricky ass bitch. Ready?
And we are back. And I'm very excited to sit down and chat with this guest. It's a listener turn guest because the community is strong as fuck. Okay. This guest sent us a lovely email about restorative justice that was just so succinct, and you just sound like you know what you were talking about. So we made sure to reach out to you so that we could just expound on this topic. So today we are sitting with Marquise Davon Richards.
Come on now,
Marquise is
Davon.
a Philly-based passionate educator, podcaster, and activist. He is the host of the award-winning Keeping It a Bean podcast that brings together conversation and community over coffee. What a cute name.
Isn't
I
that-
just put that together and I'm obsessed. He also hosts Due Diligence, a live music dissection event dedicated to local Philly artists. Marquise has a deep-rooted belief in the power of education to transform lives. He has developed a Black masculinity seminar that brings together feminist thought, social emotional learning, and personal development skills for young boys and men. His particular passion is for prison abolition, educational justice, and pushes for harm reduction within the Black community. He is the recipient of Color of Change's Chinua Achebe Storytelling Award for his work in education and use of podcasting as an avenue to incite change. Lastly,
That's
Marquise
amazing.
is a proud left-handed Virgo, self-described archivist of the Beehive, and lover of coffee that tries to bring a smile to one person a day. That is I gotta work on my bio because that
I
thing
know.
is strong.
My bio sucks.
Shanti lives in Philadelphia with her daughter.
Welcome, Marquise. I feel like you and I were talking on Twitter, right?
Yes.
This is how this came to be, and I was like, He was talking that good talk. I keep trying to. Can you help me try to get Shanti on Twitter? I keep telling her that's where all the content
so much fun
is.
on Twitter.
I
Oh
don't
my
know how to
gosh.
use it. I don't understand who's talking, who's responding. I will try. I will push my brain to do it. My 40-year-old
You
brain.
can easily figure it out. It is
I
you're
could.
missing out on a lot, and I hate Twitter because of Elon Musk. But anyway, go ahead.
It would be fine. Shanti's random thoughts. Like, just stuff that you've been talking about, and then you just
What
take them.
have? Do you ever wonder? Anyway, thanks so much for being here. And like I, introed you on, we really do want to talk about restorative justice and how to apply it in our daily lives, what it means, what the possibilities are. So to anchor and ground the conversation, let's just ask this question. What is restorative justice?
Yeah. So restorative justice is essentially like a framework that reframes how we look at punishment, right? And so it just allows us to kind of think around what does restoration look like and kind of rehabilitation as a way to solve conflict or any harm that is caused. And so instead of saying you're punished, it's punitive, let's actually have a conversation and actually build out a solution together. So that's the kind of like a short and succinct version of what restorative justice is in a definition.
How does this connect to abolition work? Like, also, I want to be very clear and very honest. My understanding of abolitionists is very antiquated. It's the motherfuckers that wanted to, end slavery back in the day versus this very nuanced, very alive and active and just as important theory and movement that's happening.
So what restorative justice connects to the abolitionist thought is because abolition requires us to interrogate systems and kind of ask this question why a couple of times is how I like to always describe it. And so how do we take the issue from the root? And so when it comes to abolition, it's just saying like, hey, this thing that we say is supposed to have worked for so long is not working. And we're only treating the symptoms. We're not actually targeting like what is the root of the issue. And so an example I always use is like a child who is hungry in school and not performing well, right? And so why is this child not performing well? Well, this child did not eat today. Why didn't this child eat today? Well, they live in the middle of a food desert. Why do they live in the middle of a food desert? What can then the government do to solve this issue? And so we notice how the root issue is actually this child is hungry, but there's a systemic issue at the root of it. And that is what is now impacting his ability to perform as well as possible in school, whatever the case may be, right? And so I hope that kind of leads into like this idea of abolition, which is just like, yo, we need to think more intentionally around solving the root rather than just putting Band-Aids over the different symptoms that pop up.
I think the idea of abolition was very big during the George Floyd 2021 murder. And everybody's like, stop the, what was this goddamn saying?
Defund the police.
Defund the police, right? And there is this, I think, rather huge jump that people's brains, their minds just kind of like exploded of like, defund the police.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? How is that even possible? Yeah, so is that, because it's even now, even in my mind, it means that prison systems, police are gone. Is that the goal? Is that, is uprooting, like the idea of pulling it up by the root, completely getting rid of those systems that are so harmful and fucked up?
Essentially, yes. And I always add like the caveat of just like, what does it look like for us to get there? Because blowing up a system means that we need to all be bought into like doing to work to like reimagine something new. And so yes, part of it is having like a very radical imagination, and the other piece is when it comes to abolition is like, hey, are people who go to prison, are they actually rehabilitated, or are we just removing them from society for a little bit so that harm doesn't get caused, and then we put them right back to do the exact same thing, right? And so what work is being done while they are there to ensure that it's more of a preventative measure rather than a reactionary measure? And right now, most times, prison and police, they come after the harm is done. But what can we do to create systems that will prevent the harm? And so is that ensuring that people have jobs when they get out? Right? Is this ensuring that while you're here, you can also get a degree potentially, or get something that caused you to do this harm or do this crime, and then build out from there? And so oftentimes we look at prison and we're just like, this is the only way we can do this. And a human and everybody is like, prison should be a symbol of safety for community, right? And that's what people associate it with. But oftentimes when we see what's going on within the prisons, there's still more harm happening there. People get out and people are not changing. We look at recidivism rates and those are still through the roof. And that's even like a larger definition of what recidivism is. And so when you look at the entirety of the prison system, how often are people actually going back to prison? How often are people actually creating like a positive change after they experience this thing? And then how do they become productive members of society and repair harm that was done to either a single person or that impacts a community or impacts themselves? And that's the piece that prison tends to miss, which is where prison abolitionists tend to come in and they're just like, this is grossly punitive, so how do we prevent rather than react, if that makes more sense?
Yeah.
Can I ask
Go ahead.
you, when it comes to this specifically, when it comes to prison, I have a couple of questions here. I've brought this up to people in my life, and there's some people in my life who don't have much access to things, like family members. They don't have access. A lot of them are poor. A lot of them feel that if we do offer all of these programs for folks who have committed crimes or been found guilty of committing crimes, let's be very clear, that it's unfair that their taxpayer dollars are going towards that when they don't feel like they even have that access, right? And so it becomes this, you fucked up, you're discarded of kind of situation. And I guess this is where the reimagining comes in, because it doesn't stop at just the prison system, but also the constructs in which we live in. I guess my question to you is, what would you say to someone who feels that way and who's very much in that position, seemingly, non-minority and, white, poor, male, who's like, oh no, they coming for my stuff? What would you say to that person? And then I'd also love to know, what is the reimagining? Like, we talk about the reimagining, like we have to imagine something else. What are we imagining?
What are we imagining?
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's super valid. And so when I look at, like, if it is a cishet white male talking around, like, why am I putting money into, like, ensuring that these people are getting these services and I should not pay for them, like, we should be punitive. In reality, you're still funding these prisons a lot of the times. You're still, like, that's where your taxpayer dollars are going. But you also assumingly want to live in a safer society, right? A just society, somewhere where the family can be one and stable so this thing doesn't happen again. And so the investment into those who are most marginalized and have their rights taken away is actually an investment in a stronger economy, if they want to just talk simply money. And we shouldn't do that, right? Because people are more than just money. But that's what white people respond to sometimes, to reality. But then it's also more safety, right? That occurs as well in their white imagination of this thing, right? And if you're always trying to take, how much do you actually care about the human next to you? How much are you actually invested in the next generation? Because the reality is, what happens when your family member experiences the thing? You're going to want them to have the exact same kind of benefits, right? And so I think I struggle with this because I'm also not in the mode of like convincing white people to acknowledge our humanity. And I also recognize that these are the people who are in positions of power to ensure that some of this change can happen, because they are sitting on these boards. They are the ones who are privately funding these spaces and stuff like that too. And so it's like a sadly a both and situation, of like, nah, this is actually a benefit to even your poor white cousin that you don't like to imagine exists. And this is also another opportunity for us to genuinely invest in building community, and you can have a positive impact that way too.
Okay. What is the imagining? What does it look like?
Yeah. The suburbs. It looks like the suburbs. And so think around.
What do you mean?
Look at all the resources that are poured into suburban areas, that are poured in suburban schools, and you really look at that, and all these white people, they got mad stuff. I'm just like, oh, so y'all have your driveways, you have access to different areas of food, your schools are all fully resourced and funded as well. And so when you really look at like where the outskirts are happening in the suburban communities, there's less explicit crime happening that we tend to criminalize, but they have spaces to go get healthy food options. They have spaces to have mental health facilities. They do have access to neighbors. They have access to capital and people that they can be readily near. And so I think that's the access piece. So to me, whenever I look at it, I'm just like, yes, I'm gonna stay in the hood, but like, give me the resources that come with living in the suburbs. And so sometimes
Give me
I
the
just kind of
fundamental quality of life, like a higher quality of life.
Yeah, and so for me, that's what like a very simple reimagining actually looks like. It's just equity and resources.
So if we're staying out in the suburbs, right? And you have like the question that I always tend to stumble upon with this, maybe even in my own thoughts, is where do we draw the line with restoration, right?
Yes.
And is there a line, right? Does everyone have the same line collectively? How do we get there? And because I'm thinking about, some of these suburban white spaces that have means, and then you might have a school shooter.
Every time.
This person had all the resources, all the everything, seemingly, right? But obviously there was something lacking. There was something that they were without. And so in spaces like that, we just had the mother who was brought up on charges because she was neglectful. She was found criminally neglectful when it came to, I forget the kid's name, who shot up the space, I believe in Michigan, the school, and killed, I think, 4 classmates. Horrible. Can that person be restored?
So from that framework, yes, that person should be able to be restored because they have the resources, or we can put the means so it does not happen again. So the restoration to me feels like a preventative measure, so this thing does not occur again. And the other piece is that person also no longer needs to be in that community either, right? Unless the community is able to accept him back in and have this level of forgiveness. But that is also dependent upon the families. I think a lot of times people think that it needs to be, everybody's like, kumbaya by the end of this. No, honestly, at the end of this, what restoration looks like to me is that this thing doesn't happen again, right? That I don't need to be in community with him, but I need to be able to trust that this thing can be prevented and this thing does not happen. Oftentimes they're just like, punish, punish, punish. Or the person who was harmed or the family that was harmed needs to like have a kumbaya come to Jesus moment. Nah, sometimes restoration looks like distance. Restoration actually does not mean you have to be invited back into community, because the person who was harmed directly, that's their choice. That is not our choice to make up. We just provide support in whatever way that wants. So often, because I always struggle like with the most egregious of things, and I know this kind of, it's my idea of how transformative justice can work. Yeah, no, nigga gotta go. He gotta go. Like,
there is a level of this is irredeemable. This person has to go.
Yeah, because I always say like, and I'll take it to a school, right? There is a person who is harmed within a school, and there is no reason that the person who caused this person harm should have to interact with you anymore, right?
Right.
And
right,
so
right.
Yeah, and so when there is like an irredeemable thing that is going on, my part of transformative justice actually requires us to figure out like, nah, this person got to go somewhere. And if that means that and it's a small subset who do very violent and cruel things, right? Percentage wise. I'm sorry, them niggas got to go. right?
I'm
Go ahead.
hearing, sorry, when I hear gotta go, it means like you are not redeemable. But the baseline
Of
theory is
restorative.
that restoration is deeply rooted in compassion, right? Compassion for
Yes.
the person that did the harm, compassion
Right.
for the person that is harmed. No, they don't necessarily have to be in the same community around people, but the possibility and the work is towards their redemption. That all
Correct.
humans are redeemable, from
Yes.
Hitler to the kid that smacked his friend in the face for stealing his truck.
Right.
Are their humanity gives them the right to redemption, and is redemption is possible.
Redemption can be possible, right? And that's, I use the redemption can be possible. Now, Hitler, I'm just like, that was just wild. But I use the example of what happened in the
It was
Rwanda.
wild.
Yeah,
Right.
wilding. But I look at the Rwandan genocide, and so they actually practiced this community court, right? And so you had both tribes that were fighting against each other, and one side, the Tutsis, was like murking people left and right. But once they realized, like, oh, we need to come back together because we have to live with the people who caused this harm, they actually created a council of the community to say, hey, what does restoration look like? So they put every single person who caused the genocide into court, right? And then there were people who were just like, I forgive you for what you have done. You can stay in community with us. There are people
Wow.
who are like, actually, no, I cannot bang with that. And to me, that was wild when I first had learned of like how they restored community, right? Because that is deep trauma. You took families away, you took children away, and for you to say, but we still have to live in the same space together, we're all still Rwandan at the end of the day. That's when in my mind I was just like, okay, so there is something around a communal care aspect, and people have the ability to forgive very radically. And to me, I'm like, I look at that situation a lot of time of just like a model of what communal restorative justice can look like. But I don't think that I think everybody as a collective does not necessarily have to agree on like, here's the standard, but it does give space for those who are harmed to say, this is actually what I feel like is a logical consequence moving forward. And so that's the piece that I think about.
Marquise,
Can I read something?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Antoinette.
You sure? So I found this piece on the interwebs. WagingNonviolence.org posted it, and it's Restorative Justice Changed Me. Every woman's worst nightmare. Changed me from being every woman's worst nightmare. So this is the person, the perpetrator, saying this. Tears poured down my cheeks, hunched over on a plastic chair, elbows on knees. I buried my face in my hands. The group was silent. I had just shared the details of my crime, robbery and sexual assault. I confessed to being every woman's worst nightmare. Recounting these moments from years ago brought a resurgence of guilt and shame. I had been young, strung out, ruthless gang member with zero respect for women, and had an accomplice to impress. The host of our group embraced me with a hug, her gentle hand rubbing my back. I'm proud of you, she whispered in my ear, validating my emotions and washing away years of crippling embarrassment. She was a sexual assault survivor. And then he goes on to talk about how he was in a Bridges to Life 14-week restorative justice program within a prison. And due to, sadly, COVID and things, that all of the funding was cut. But talks about what an amazing experience it was, and that he said that he became friends with women who experienced the opposing side of his worst actions. They didn't see him as a perpetrator. I didn't see them as victims. We began unsure of what to expect and ended as true friends. We built relationships, bonds that had a face, a name, hopes, dreams, and a purpose. We shared each other's pain. We laughed together, cried together, held each other, and understood. And so I was thinking about that as a sexual assault survivor myself. And this is always my thing, is like, I don't play with kids. If you sexually assault, molest, abuse a child, you got nothing from me. Unless you're a child. I mean, it's not that you can never have anything from me, but like if you don't take accountability or do some serious work, I can't fuck with you. And I probably will struggle with you regardless. I looked at this and was like, my initial reaction was what a burden this is on the victimized. That they seem to be the pathway for restorative justice. And it bothered me. It bothered me so much. It felt like when Black women often say, it's not my job to teach you white women about racism. And I sat there in myself and was like, I wish I would go to a fucking restorative justice circle and have a rapist look at me and I have to be their pathway towards, like...
Why does empathy come after the harm is done?
Yeah, like, or just their pathway towards restoration. Yeah. My offering of, you know, understanding and humanizing them. And I felt really guilty about that. It's like, whoa, you are actually a part of the problem. You are actually one of the people who, you're not humanizing these people in my mind. These are the things that was just going through my head.
Yeah. And for me, I'm just like, that's a very human response. Like, I think you are so valid in feeling that. That's why I don't think like the harmed always need to be included in like being in space with those that caused the harm. Like, I would never want to put you in a room with the person who did that to you, right? Because that's particularly triggering for you. And restorative justice is also faith, right? That we're putting into like the hope that this human will never do this thing again. Right. And so the hard part about restorative justice, and just from like a practicality and use lens, is like the framework requires both parties to be prepared to just lay out, this is what happened. Right. After that is done, you then need to go through a validation process, right? Of like, yo, I did this thing. I need to take accountability, and I need to be humble enough to know, what is this thing that what is the thing that you actually need from me? What does my logical consequence begin to look like? And that is a space that can be done with a third party if you feel safe enough to be with that person and just have that face-to-face conversation, right? And we see it play out in TV. Sometimes the person who was harmed will just go up face-to-face and be like, why did you do that? I need an answer. Some people are just like, I never want to see this person again. Some people are just like, I just need my community to show up for me and not abandon me, right, in this moment. And so these are all different practices of what restoration could potentially look like. But at the end of this process, once both people are willing to either come to the conclusion or there's a third party who can help mediate so you don't actually have to ever see this person again, then you can say, here's what I would like to see. Restoration allows the harmed to come to, here is a set of things that I need in order to feel safe, in order to feel comfortable, or honestly, I just don't want to see this thing happen again. And so oftentimes, as I think around some of my close friends who have experienced this thing, they're just like, I just don't want this to happen to anybody else. I just don't want to see this person again, but I want to ensure like I don't see this thing happen. And restorative justice is hard because it takes this idea of forgiveness. And so we try to put practicality to human emotion sometimes, and that's the hard part. It's just like, no, this changed my life drastically. That's not fair to me, right? And so it's something I think around, even just like dealing with my own personal child abuse. That person to me is just like, I don't want to see this thing happen again, and I'm good off of it. As long as it doesn't happen to any of my other siblings, as long as it doesn't happen to any future children, cool, but I don't need to be in community with this man. I have now released that to go somewhere else, but I absolutely do not have any desire to see this man again. I just don't want to see this
feels key that they're not in community with you, but there is a community for them.
But there is a community for them that goes to the stem of what caused them to become abusers or to to cause the harm.
Because the reality is, if we throw them away, will they just continue to perpetuate over and over again? and there's no community there that be to hold them accountable. And so I argue that the only way true restorative justice works is with those that you're in community with, because I actually don't care about what Joe Schmo has to say on Twitter. I don't have a personal connection to you, which means I don't feel shame around you, which means I don't feel guilt around you. Shame or guilt can be motivators of change. Well, more so shame can be a motivator of change. Sometimes guilt can have the adverse effect. So I think those are two different modes of kind of understanding how humans work. But also on the other side of restoration means at least I want to change and I have the will to change.
It feels like, and we talked about this before, you know, talking about the prison system feels like such a macro thing to manage, right? But it feels like it's in the micro that so much of the macro can be untangled. I think about the beauty if restorative justice were taught in preschools all the way up to 12th grade, having young kids from a very young age learn how to manage harm and accountability. And it sounds like to me these really, really difficult feelings of shame, embarrassment, fear, rage, like these really hard emotions.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this isn't possible because our culture, I mean, you just think about what's going on. Think about 9/11. Think about what's going on in Israel right now. You did this one thing, and I'm going to demolish you. And I have every right to react in this way because you harmed me, and the harm that I'm going to cause everyone else is now justified. And I also connect it back to the country being, most religions being Judeo-Christian religions being, their God is so punishing, is so punitive. It's so like, you do this, you going to hell forever. You understand me?
Okay.
Forever. Like, that just feels, the culture of it's just everywhere. That it feels hard to even try to apply this to our own lives. Do you have any guidance as to how, like, even in friend groups, you know, like, girl, you hurt my feelings. Yeah. You hurt my friend's feelings. How do we do this?
A lot of it is like conflict resolution skills, to be honest. Like, just niggas are not taught conflict resolution early on. And so in reality, I used to be a 5th grade teacher before I just, I stayed my happy ass in high school after that, because 5th grade is just this weird age.
Middle school nuts.
They are different. However, I taught social emotional learning, right? And so in that, we had to teach about trusting adults, recognizing your own triggers, emotional regulation, and then also building healthy relationships are kind of like the tenets of SEL. And so what I used to do is actually do simulations with my students, right? Of just like, hey, let's walk through this fight that you just had. What was the source of your fight? Now, again, 5th graders are a little irrational, so they just don't like if you sit in their seat. Okay, so they're just like, yo, I just don't want you sitting in my seat again, right? And that is just this. But I also had a student who was just like, I told him to stop talking to me once. I asked him to stop talking to me twice. And then the 3rd time, I just had to hit him, Mr. Richards. I don't know what to tell you. Like, and it happens. And I was like, well, there was a logical progression on how we got here, but what is a healthier way to like navigate this? And so before it got to that point, would it have been smarter to go to a trusted adult? Before it got to that point, you being able to express yourself differently may have done something. Now, granted, he said, please do it once, don't do it again. He gave him multiple warnings, right? And so that is also a practice of prevention we don't always assign to kids. However, if you just go through conflict resolution and we begin to embody this, and as adults we model it, that will help students and kids be able to understand what this is a little bit more. And it's difficult too, because I always say, like, as a teacher, when I say, hey, did I do something that bothered you? Was I too loud? Do you need a walk? Do you need to put your head down? Do you need food? That's very hard for kids to articulate their needs, is because oftentimes they're coming from, don't talk unless spoken to. This is just punitive, punishment. But for me, I'm sitting there just like, well, what do you need in this moment? And the kids are just like, what do you mean, what do I need in this moment? And I'm just like, take time to process it, right? Because this is also a brand new skill that none of us that we know. Restorative justice, SEL, all of these ideas around like emotional intelligence are brand new to our culture, and we're still trying to figure out and implement, but also recognize like, but the old ways also worked, and these kids are out of control. We're asking kids to self-actualize and understand what consequence and restoration. These are two different things that speak to each other.
Wow.
But we should not do punishment. We should do restoration. And as kids learn to language and see how adults interact with each other, they kind of just also use it as a sponge. And so I think around stuff like that of just like, how often are we actually talking around conflict resolution? Me and my friends, my best friend Amanda, she was just like, yeah, Marquise, I don't like when, she was just like, I have not seen you since I moved out. And that's making me feel a kind of way. And it's a very low level thing, but I was just like, oh, I didn't know that this is what you needed in order for you to feel like this friendship was being fulfilled, right? And so it's a very minor thing, but just having that example of like, there was kind of a little friction going on, and sometimes she doesn't always articulate herself. And sometimes I'm just the man. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, girl, you should have just told me that. Like, just go from there. But being able to kind of express this, speaking in I, and then just saying, hey, this is all I need. It's a very simple thing. When this happens, I need this, is kind of how we go about it. So long-winded, but I hope that line of thinking actually made sense.
It does. I'm stuff is coming up for me where I'm like, oh, you have work to do, because I don't have any children, and I was uncomfortable with that scenario. I was uncomfortable with the scenario because of how I was taught. It's like, if somebody messes with you, you need to get them back. Like, you need to avoid it. But if you are in a position where you can't avoid it, like if you are up against a bully, that bully needs to know that you are not to be played with, and that bully needs to be made an example out of. And so you come back stronger than you ever could, 10 times harder
Israel.
than they did.
Come on, Israel.
Exactly. But that's it. No, I'm dead ass.
But that's what it is.
And that is what it is. That is literally how the way in which we talk about how do we embody what Israel is doing, what the United States is doing and has done. That was completely in my teaching. And then I'm listening to you and I'm thinking like, well, as a parent, I would be terrified to only arm my child with, hear the language I'm using, arm my child, right, with go to a trusted adult. I don't trust adults.
Yeah.
You know, as a parent, what if you don't have a trusted adult? As a parent, I don't even have kids, and I'm thinking like this. Sometimes you all you got.
Yeah, but I also think around it, like listening to your episodes, though, you kind of already modeled this. I think around like, was it your godson, nephew?
My baby.
Yeah,
Sean.
and when you had shared that moment, I was like, you are a trusted adult, and you have modeled it already, because you were affirming, but sometimes even your presence is also preventative, right?
Yeah.
I think also when.
But I don't trust that it's a whole lot of us out there.
But perhaps the thing is, yes, you may have to defend yourself, but I think the most important thing is that the person that did the harm, there's still work that should be done to the person that was in your face for a reason. Rather than you defending yourself and be like, this never going to do it again. It's some curiosity and some empathy that I would, and that may not be the kid that was hurt's work to do, but it should be a concern like, yo, I don't want to help you, but you need fucking help. Like, because this is not normal. Something's wrong.
There needs to be a presence of mind, I think, in the kid of like,
deeper awareness.
Yeah, an awareness of that. Like, even if you have to defend yourself, understand that this person is doing this for a reason, and then you can humanize the person in that way. But that's the step that we're skipping. I think that we're just like, people are bad. And you must defend yourself.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I was just saying, like, you have to think around it. Of just like most things that other people do to you has nothing to do with you.
Child, come on.
That is
projections and it's deep. And I will say, I think that you said we're just learning this, but I think for most indigenous cultures, this is how they fucking move, bro. Like,
Every time.
they didn't need police and shit. Like, you had to count. I mean, of course, I'm romanticizing so much and like making shit up, but at the same time, I think Western colonial Judeo-Christian Christianity has, and Islam in a lot of ways has fucked us up, bro.
Yeah.
Dog, that's why
Does Islam count as Judeo-Christian? Yes, right?
I
Yes.
don't know, Shanti.
Judeo.
Don't get me lying.
Child, don't give me the line. The Hindus be wilding out too, child.
And
Anyway.
I said, do you know that? Anyways, but I actually was thinking about it the other day of just like there's such a breakdown of community and like what community care looks like. And it was funny. My students were talking to me. What was this? Probably 3 weeks ago. I like get breakfast with my mentees and stuff sometimes, and they were just like, "Yeah, Mr. Rich, like back in your day." I said, "Back in my day." I'm 28. I was like, "Child, what are you talking about? Like, what are you doing here?" But they were just like, I feel like you always talk about like growing up and like you had neighbors who would talk to you and all this. And I'm sitting there, I was like, yes, because my neighbors actually hold me accountable. I could go and ask my neighbors for sugar. Like, I remember having to do that. And so I was thinking around it as like, because of there being a breakdown of community, because of there being the advent of social media and everybody's connected, but nobody's like physically feels tied or accountable to each other, that breakdown makes even restorative justice hard, because I remember experiencing, I didn't have the language for it because I said, oh, okay, well, it's about to throw the chancleta at me because I was running late to school and then she's trying to hold me accountable. That's what's happening. But in reality, that was her also holding me accountable. On our way to school, we would stop by our neighbor's house and say, are you ready? Are you going to be late? Woo, woo, woo. Cool. If not, we're going to keep going. These are ideas of building community and us feeling accountable to each other. My old neighborhood, I'm right here in North Philly. They're always just like, you one community ass nigga. I'm like, go to the stoop niggas and have a conversation. I go see the lady in the bodega when things were happening. She was just like, well, just know this is what happened. And here's what you just need to know moving around the community moving forward. Some of the stoop niggas got in trouble, da 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 da. Walking down the street, I see Mr. Jim, Miss Sheila, Darren. Whenever there's conflict, we're able to just talk and be like, hey, I'm noticing this thing. Do you need help with anything? Or can we like navigate this? Now, granted, I am just a friendly neighborhood person. So I like to know my neighbors because that's what I grew up on and that's how I know. And so just like, if I don't know my neighbors, I may not feel as safe in my community to navigate this conflict. And I've been in this neighborhood for 5 years. So I should at least be able to go to you if something were to happen.
I don't know my neighbors.
I'll say this. I feel like the hood has a deep sense of relationship. They know what's going on. They know people's families. They in the hood, people know each other deeply, generationally, but they don't have the tools to like do this conflict management. And when you hear about these stories of folks going in, I forgot the specific name, but there's so many occurrences of people that go in and I think there's a whole documentary called The Disruptors where this woman goes in, they call her like, yo, they about to pop off. She goes there directly to the person, talks them down, you know, because she knows them. She's trusted in the community. She knows who they about the beef that's been going on, talks them down and de-escalates it and is wildly successful with it, which I don't know could happen in communities where, in a suburban community where niggas don't really know each other very well.
Yeah, and that's why I always argue in a very unofficial way, because I know I went to a conference and said this, and they said, what? And I said, people in the hood been practicing restorative justice for the longest time. Sometimes it may not look like what you want it to look like, and so they're just like, hey, for me growing up, it was just like, Kenny, you spit water at my brother. I did not like that. So me and you're going to duke this out, and then me and you're going to have this, and then we're going to go play games right after. Yeah. Right? And that's what happened. It no longer happened again. He understood what the consequence was, and then we both apologized to each other, and then said, you're going to go play Yu-Gi-Oh with us? Cool. Good. Let's move. But sometimes it goes too far. If you actually don't care about your neighbor, that's where restorative justice, I think, is its strongest piece, is like it works successfully when you are in community with the person, because I see you for who you were before the conflict happened, and I know the potential that you have, and I care. If I'm not in community with you, if I don't care about you, won't care to take that time to actually restore you either, right?
So that leads into another question of mine. I'm going to it now. Hold, please.
Holding.
Chris Brown.
Yeah, cancel culture.
Get
Need a
into
fencer.
it. Let's get into Chris. Chris Brown is an interesting character because, again, right, repeat offender. I learned. I went into this deep dive because I didn't know that. I always think that it's associated with Rihanna, or maybe I forget. I don't know. But I didn't follow him and Karuchi very much or anything else after
He
that.
was
But I
abusing her
understand
too.
Yeah.
he had restraining orders against him. Yeah, where I don't know if it was physical, but I know that she felt the need to get a 5-year restraining order, and he was still like hounding her and stuff. Or Chris Brown is hard because, again, repeat offender. But that's celebrity, right? There's something about the celebrity where they're no longer human. We care about them. We care about them, but we don't really care about them unless they're
Thank you
like
for entertaining me.
right. Unless they're like
Yeah.
Beyonce, you know,
Right.
Biggie, like where we feel really deeply connected. We finna cry in the street if something happens to you. And I wonder about him because sometimes I'm like, well, I can't wrap my arms around him and try to talk to him and offer him anything, right?
Right.
So what does that collective restorative justice look like? Is it possible? And also, like, can we do it just based off the fact that he's a celebrity? He's not human. We don't care about him as much as we say we do. Jonathan Majors, right? Like these people that we
Puff
might
Daddy.
root for. Puffy. Even Monique at this point.
Monique,
Yeah.
child.
Monique out here, she said, fuck her son, her baby, her firstborn boy, who really just wants a relationship with her that she has with quote unquote daddy.
Yep.
He really wants that acknowledgement and the respect that she gives him, that she's giving to the other children. But
Yep.
you know, she doubles down and for comedic purposes on a show because she's too hurt to really humble herself and go get this boy and find him and not let it be public. That, you know, she says instead, fuck him. What do we do with that as a community?
Is cancel culture like a perverted restorative justice?
It ain't
I think so.
restoring
I don't
nobody.
think it's not
Do we
restorative,
think
but
it
I do
is?
feel
Like, he's done.
I feel like there's a very strong overcorrection in an area where we were
Very
super permissive
strong.
with all of this like very permissive behavior, right? Because we're trying to find like this balance of like what is morally just, and y'all, this misogyny and this abuse has been happening for years, decades, centuries. We know this all to be true, and so cancel culture is the idea of like this public accountability. Now, again, for me, I'm like, cancel culture will ultimately shame a person into hiding, but I don't know if it will always necessarily incite the change that is necessary to prevent this from happening in the future. Because if the entire world continues to dogpile, and project onto you what they think should be done, you completely take the person who was actually harmed out of the equation, and now you made it about
Marquise.
you. Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot because I was just like,
Because we were still mad at Cassie when she got her quote unquote justice that she wanted.
talk about it. We made it about us, right?
It was mad. Why you settle? Why you this? Why you that? Oh, you was out for the money. Huh?
This is what I would have done, but you're not Cassie. You are not in that specific situation. And so for me, when I look at somebody like a Chris Brown, and if I really take it from like a deeper perspective, and that requires just my own kind of work, I was like, I do feel like Chris Brown is Chris Brown's situation and inability to be redeemed is black men's biggest fear of being thrown away, which is why I think that we ride so hard for somebody like him, right? No, I'm not going to say we, but, you know, just as black men in general, black people in general, because we do coddle black men, particularly in this space, because we all are just like, we still want to protect, but you're kind of trash, but we still don't think that you should be thrown away because we still empathize with black men a lot more from like a general level. And so when I think around this idea of like, well, Chris Brown publicly did this thing. If everybody is unable to forgive Chris Brown for what he did, and if Rihanna, quote unquote, forgave him and has moved on, Everybody else should too. But the reality is Chris Brown represents your neighbor. Chris Brown represents a father. Chris Brown represents a friend who did harm to you, right? And if that black person continues to see messaging like, oh, Chris Brown's irredeemable, this black man will also think that no matter what I do, I can no longer come back to society, which means do I even need to change if they're never going to allow the space for me to change or grow in order to become a better human and learn from this.
Or be, be seen of where the deeper, what my root cause is for the harm in the first place.
Right.
Boom.
Damn.
Because the reality is when my mom, she worked in a juvenile detention center, and she says, I don't think you understand what all these boys are going through.
Yeah.
And it was one of the hardest things because she was just like, yes, they have caused harm, but so many of these boys have experienced harm first and they're just replicating the only thing that they've ever known. And they're children, so they are impressionable for this thing to happen. And I was like, nah, Mom, because we ended up talking around like, R. Kelly doesn't exist without his sister doing what she did to him. And now he's replicating the exact same thing to other people. She's like, we get that nigga out of here. Gotta go. And if we're able to really understand where did that harm actually begin and why did he end up replicating this thing? And that was hard for me because I'm just like very staunch, like, this is my I said, Mom. And she was just like, but I look at my job, and she's just like, if I am not there to humanize these boys, they're either no longer going to be part of this world, or they're just going to go back out and do the exact same thing. She's like, somebody needs to see humanity in order for them to want to change. And that was one of the hardest things that I ever heard my mom say. But she was in community with these children who looked to her to just be like, I came up from a real shitty situation. I'm trying so hard to do better, and it doesn't change overnight, but they did want to work towards change. And
knowing
so I think
that it
that's
was even possible for them to change. Sorry for cutting. Yeah.
No, you're good. But Chris Brown is showing us from a celebrity pop culture aspect that just sends messaging that, oh, change is actually not possible. Right now, I think Chris Brown, again, I said repeat offender. So like, I'm going to use him as an outlier, but I do think because he's so widely known, there is a section of people who see that and just like, but I messed up. Can I be forgiven?
Yeah.
It might not be to that extreme, but they don't know what restoration looks like from a public imagination standpoint.
Can I even admit it, Jonathan Majors? Can I even say the thing out loud? Will I be accepted? It makes me think about The Wire. And it makes me think about the humanity. That's why The Wire was so good. That there was humanity in every one of those characters. And the only one that I'm like, nah, I ain't have nothing for him. He was compelling and interesting to watch was Marlo. Because I'm like, we didn't know your backstory. Had we known his backstory, maybe it would have been different. The compassion we have for Omar, for Bubbles, for Avon even, definitely for D'Angelo, for even Bodie. I fucking love Bodie.
But who ended up becoming the next Marlo?
Girl, what? You talking
Wasn't
about?
somebody set up to act the same way? Was he gonna anyway? I was trying to
children.
Yeah, it was like, oh, he's now placing himself. Was it Michael, or was Michael going to be?
Michael was Omar. Michael was turning into Omar. He was robbing drug dealers. I don't know if they set up another.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, very good. We are over this time that we had said, but this was
you got to come back on
so
and chit
rich.
chat.
You better talk your shit. That was really good.
I be trying.
No, he was an immediate follow on social. I was like, what are you talking about? Follow.
Marquise, where can people learn more about you? Learn about your what is it, seminar that you have going on? I don't know if it's ongoing, but tell the people.
Yes. So I'm Marquise Davon across all social media. So that's MarquisDavon. I'm the host of Keeping It a Bean Pod, so you can also follow that. Keepin, KeepinItabean Pod. I was like, that'd be a mouthful to be doing. I said, Fella be champ, bro. We out here. But yeah, so I'm usually in the Twitter streets. You'll see me, good morning to niggas and niggas only every single morning.
Yes.
This is our daily affirmation. But I'm also out and about. You'll probably see me at different events around the city doing creative stuff and usually at nightlife stuff as well. So simple person, most likely catch me in Uncle Bobby's just resting and chilling out. So
Oh, shout out to Uncle
Okay,
Bobby.
Germantown. You in Germantown?
I'm right off of Temple's campus actually.
Okay.
And then I just take the little 17 all the way up. So
I have some questions for you though before you go, because you are a first-time guest, friend. Not that you won't be back, but I don't know that how long you've been listening to us, but we do have a rapid-fire questionnaire for first guests. Oh, you know about this?
Yes.
Say the fuck less. So you know the rules. You know how this works. I'm gonna read these drawings, and you need to answer in less than 3 minutes, or 3 minutes, in less than 3 seconds.
Yep.
Try to, I can hear you typing away. Ready? Malcolm or Martin?
Malcolm.
Generational wealth or familial happiness?
Familial happiness.
Jay or Nas?
Nas.
Mac or Sephora?
Sephora.
Palestine or Israel?
Palestine.
In the light or in the dark?
In the light.
Prince or Michael?
Ooh. Oh. Michael.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Marriage or long-term commitment?
Ooh. Marriage.
Trader Joe's or Whole Foods?
Trader Joe's.
Voodoo or brown sugar?
Brown sugar. Yeah, easy.
Family or career?
Family.
A seat at the table or lemonade?
A seat at the table.
Evolution or creationism?
Evolution.
Meg or Nikki?
Meg.
Nikki or Cardi?
Cardi.
Jollof or rice and peas?
Rice and peas.
Missionary or doggy?
Ooh. I like a good missionary.
Protection or pull out in prayer?
On a tequila night or a regular day?
That part, every fucking guest up. And you tell on yourselves every time. So protection or pull out in prayer, King.
Yo!
Look, he done took his glasses off. He can't
Not
see no
for
more. Oh my God.
Nah, protection. We out here.
He's talking about students. Is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one mic?
One mic.
Love Jones or Jason's lyric?
Oh, Jason's lyric.
Sir or Rumi?
Sir. Oh,
I
wow.
love you. Lisa Bonet or Jason's lyric? What? Lisa Bonet or Nia Long? Sorry.
Nia Long.
Bell Hooks or Audre Lorde?
Audre Lorde, that's my girl.
Make your partner a plate or have them get their own?
That nigga's getting his own.
Knock if you buck or Annie up?
Duck if you buck.
9/11. Inside job or terrorist attack?
Ooh, let's give an inside job, I'm gonna be honest.
Rihanna or Beyonce?
Beyonce.
Biggie or Pac?
Pac.
Erica or Jill?
Jill.
Randy or Monica?
Oh, Monica. I love
Angela
her.
Davis or Angela Rye? I hate that question.
Angela Davis.
Read the book or watch the movie?
Read the book.
Toni Morrison or Alice Walker?
Ooh, Tony, that's my good sis.
Flats or drums?
Flats.
SWV or Escape?
SWV.
Travel back in time or travel forward in time?
Forward, I ain't going back.
Buy stocks or buy flights?
Flights.
Prove your point or pray for peace?
I'm a Virgo, prove my point.
Ooh, tricky. Country Beyonce or Renaissance Beyonce?
Ooh, Renaissance Beyonce.
All right, and finally, Love and Light or Money and Dicks?
Love and Light.
Oh,
Thank you so
thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Oh man, thank
For
you. I
rocking
don't know
with us on a
I got
Thursday
an
night.
eyelash in my eye. Lord
Oh,
Jesus.
baby, I'm sorry.
It's
It was-
there.
The pull out done got you.
It done got me.
That's the lie he told. My eyelash popped out like, oh.
Oh
right.
man, that was sweet.
We'll be sure to
All
make
right.
sure to link everything, and everybody check out the description so y'all can make sure that you follow Marquise. We'll add his Twitter. We'll add the podcast. We'll add all the things. But thank you so much.
Thank
All right,
you.
No, thank you. I appreciate the work y'all do and everything that y'all do. I'm always like amazed at what I can learn on Monday mornings and Thursday mornings. That's when I listen
Aw.
on my commute to work. So thank y'all as well.
Thank you. All right.
Don't hang up yet. Don't hang up. Don't
Don't
press
hang
that
up.
button yet.
I ain't
Good
touching
job,
nothing.
Shani.
All right.